Hi there. We're going to talk about setting up your GHL Doser 2 as an automatic feeding station. Now, if you've got a reef tank, coral tank, fish tank, whatever, you know that your corals and your fish benefit from regular feedings. Your GHL Doser 2 can be an instrumental device when it comes to that process. In my case, I use a little wine bottle cooler here, and it gives me the ability to use thawed frozen food. Now, in the case of this situation right now, I've got some baby gold flake angelfish in here, juvenile gold flakes, and they benefit from regular feeding as I'm trying to fatten them up before I put them into my main display. In the bottle here, I've got, you can see in there, some fish eggs or fish roe. Very healthy, nutritious food for them. And I've got that chilling in my wine bottle cooler here. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, what happens to the food in the line when the feeding's done? Well, the GHL Doser 2 has a unique feature in that you can run it backwards. Running it backwards after a feed process allows you to purge the food that's remaining in the line and put it back in the dosing container. Now, step one obviously is calibrating your GHL Doser 2. We're going to assume you've already calibrated it. The next step is figuring out how much fluid the lines hold. Now in our case, this is the line that goes to the tank. This is the line that'll be in our feeding container. I've gone ahead and already primed them. Essentially, I put this line in the tubing and this line in a little container here and hit the manual button and fill the line with fluid. Once the line is completely full with fluid, we want to measure how much fluid is in the line. So we take our little measuring device here, put that end in there, take the other end, the inlet line, and we'll hold it up in the air like so and hit the manual button until all the fluid is out of the line, and then we can measure it. So right now the fluid is going out of the line, being drawn back through this tubing here, and once all the fluid is out of the line, we'll know exactly how much fluid the line holds. See in there, it's pushing air now, so we've got all the fluid out of the line. Stop that there. Go ahead and put this in our feed container where it belongs. Take the tubing out of the line, and if you look carefully, you see that our line holds about 13 milliliters of fluid. So now that we know how much fluid it holds, we're going to go over to the computer here and take a look at GCC and tell you how to put that to use. Alright, so we're looking at the GHL Control Center, or GCC. And we are in our Doser 2, pump head, number 1. And the step now is to set up our feeding process. And we're going to do this here so that you can see it and not have to wait too long. Select individually here for dosing times. And select new. Now step number 1 is going to be to feed the tank, and it's 4:20 p.m. so we're going to set this for 4:22. That way you're not waiting too long. Anyway, change that to p.m. and we already know that our line holds about 13 milliliters. I want to make sure I get plenty of food in the tank, so I'm going to set it for 20 milliliters right now so you can see what we're doing. That's going to start at 4:22 p.m. That's the feed process. Now step number 2, which we're going to do now, select new again, and we're going to make this one for 4:23 p.m. So we'll make it for 4:23:30, so it's a minute and a half difference. This is going to be our flush cycle where we get the food out of the line, and this is where we're going to take advantage of that reverse feature. Now again, we already determined that we've got about 13 milliliters of fluid in that line. So I also know that part of that line is going to be in the container, which is cold. So we're going to set it for 12 milliliters. We'll leave it at 13 right now. That's the total fluid in the line. Whatever's in the line will get pushed back into that container. And we're going to select reverse. That way it runs in reverse and pumps the fluid or the food back through the tubing and into the container. Select OK and hit save. And that's all there is to it. Real simple. We've now set the GHL Doser 2 up as an automatic feeder. Now let's go back over here. Let's see the tank. I'm going to put the feeding tube into the tank here, like so. Make sure that tubing is all the way down in the container, which it is. And we'll wait. Alright, so our feed's going to start any moment. I do want to point out too, as I kind of showed you how to set the feed intervals there, you can set up multiple times a day in the same fashion too. So, you know, we set up one feed and one flush cycle, but you can set up concurrent feeds at different times of the day, and just be sure that if you do that, you follow that up with a flush cycle for every feed, so that you get rid of any food that's in the tubing. So, in less than a minute here, our feed process is going to start. Our little goldfish will be happy to get some food, and shortly thereafter, the reverse cycle will kick in. And here we go. Feed cycle is started. We are now pumping food up through the tubing and into the tank. And there we go. You can see some food coming out. Process has ended. Now for this purpose, I kind of overfed a little bit there, but the little Achilles Tang, who's in temporary quarantine, or I should say in observation, he likes the eggs just the same, so everybody will be fat and happy. Right now these fish are in observation in the frag tank before I put them in the main display. Want to make sure they're all fat and happy before they go into a 500-gallon reef system where there's an awful lot of competition. So we've done our feeding. In less than a minute now, the reverse cycle will kick in, and any food that remains in the line will be pushed back into the tank, or back into the holding container, I should say. Zoom in here on the line. See those little air bubbles in there. But then the reverse kicks in just a moment here. Any food that remains in the line will go back into the container. There we go. So now you can see even this inline is going back into the container, and that concludes our flush cycle. So there you have it. Got our GHL Doser 2, a little dispensing tube, and GHL control center here. And our little feed thing, if I wanted to set up more feeds, it's real easy to do. Just click new, add another time that we want to feed and another dosing amount, click OK, and then repeat the process with a reverse and 15 milliliters to flush out the line, and that's all it takes. And you can use your GHL Doser 2 as a coral food feeder or an automatic thawed frozen food feeder if you choose. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.